So when we talk about a workflow step is a combination of conditions and actions that we've bundled together. Or it's possible that it's only conditions or only actions, but it's a logical unit that makes sense. In this workflow that we're going to be creating in this course, we have some specific steps here in an approval process. First, an area vice president approves. That's a step. Then it moves on to the finance vice president, and all of the actions related to the finance vice president and all of the conditions, those are a step. And then we have an HR vice president who's approving. That's another step. And there are other steps that will follow. So the area vice president's approval, let's look at that one step. First, it begins with an action called email. After that action has been taken, there's a second action, and that action is almost an inaction, but it's the action of waiting. Following those two actions, then, we have a condition. A condition says we'll take different action based on the results of a value, who filled out a form, what the value was in a field. In this case, we're actually looking into this current item in the list or in the form, and we're saying, does it equal yes or does it equal no? In the form, it's a checkbox. If it equals no, that's the core of the condition. We then have two actions that are tied to that condition and only to that condition. If the vice president turned it down, that's what VP yes, no equals no means, then we're going to email the person who created the item, another action. And we're going to stop the workflow and log the request. That stopping and logging is one action all by itself. So this area VP approval step actually has two actions that will be completed every time, and then a condition, and if that condition is true, that the vice president turned down the request, there are two other actions that will be taken. If the vice president said yes, then we'll move on through the workflow. So you'll notice that this could have been 2 or 3 or even 4 different steps, but by bundling them together, we make this workflow much easier to understand. So think of your steps as you might think of sections in a presentation or headings in a Word document. Sections, headings, and steps are all used to organize your content to make it easier to think about, easier to understand, and easier to modify later on if you need to do that.